Hey, it's Dan Hall from Dan H411 Guitar Lessons, and I got a question for you. Do you want to play leads like this? Or this? Or this? And if you said yes to that, I got another question for you. Do you think it's more important to sit down and learn solos like this? Or do you think it's better to know the scale shapes, where things fit on the fretboard, and how to move things around? Because that's what I'm all about. I like to show you how to unlock the fretboard code, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at a couple of solos like that. Not really learn the solos, because you can find 1,000 other YouTube videos out there that teach you those. But what I want to show you is how to take something like that and flesh it out and figure out where this is exactly sitting within inside the scale shapes and how you can use those scale shapes to then play any kinds of solos you want, whether it's learning solos that you like or creating your own. Whatever you want to do, unlocking the fretboard is going to allow you to do that. So check it out. Hey, welcome back. Once again, I got lessons on YouTube every single week, so keep checking back. This lesson is going to be part of a three-part lesson where the first one, I'm going to break down some places where some scale shapes exist for some common sounding solos. Let's just say it that way. And in the next one, I'm going to break down some pentatonic stuff for you. And then I'm also going to do that in the third lesson as well. So it's going to be like 3 lessons of looking at scale shapes, pentatonic boxes, things like that. I'm also going to continue this lesson in my bare bones bottega, which is on my Patreon, patreon.com/nh411. You can check that out, but I wouldn't head over there right now. What I want you to do is go to tinyurl.com/nh411 and get my free 7-day course. That's right, I got a free 7-day course at tinyurl.com/nh411. It shows you how to take the guitar string by string and learn to play solos from just noodling on one string to playing all the way across all 6 strings. It helps you understand how to move shapes around. It's foundational for pretty much everything that I do here on YouTube. All my free lessons that I put on YouTube, if you'll go check out that course, get that foundation, then you can come back to any of these lessons and say, okay, I get what he's doing. I understand what it means when he says the anchor shapes, or I understand what he means when he says move the shapes around, things like that. So go check that out, tinyurl.com/nh411. Get that. You'll get on my mailing list. Every time I put out a new lesson, every time I put out a new Patreon, one of those bare bones potatoes or a instrumental backing track or something like that out there for you. And then, of course, every time I have a free bonus, I send that to you. So be sure to check that out, and on with the show. Okay, so let's take a lead like this. Now that's a great thing to learn, right? You can go ahead and take something like that and learn that and impress your friends, and of course throw in a backing track that's in the key of A minor, and then play that and have fun with it and noodle with it and pretty much play that all day. Just take those same notes and come up with all kinds of cool stuff. But you're not going to be able to add any new notes if that's all you know. So we're going to go ahead and look at that across that scale shape there. That's the A minor scale shape. The majority of it's in pentatonic. There's like one note in there that's not pentatonic, and that's one of the things that gives this solo the signature sound. When you play that one note, you hear it, right? It resonates with you. It's this note right here. That one right there. It's within the key, it's within the diatonic scale or the diatonic key, but it's not within the pentatonic. So in this one right here, I'm going to show you the diatonic, and then I'm going to show you the pentatonic and show you why that one note is affecting the sound so much. So let's go ahead and take a look at the A minor diatonic scale, or the A minor natural minor scale, the A minor natural minor scale, or the A Aeolian scale, as it's also called. It's going to start on the 6th string at the 5th fret, and we're going to play 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, and then on the 5th string, also 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, And go check out my foundational course and check out my other lessons I've got out there, because that's what I call the anchor shapes, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. And then we're going to play 1, 3, or my first finger, my third finger on the 4th string. We're just going to play 5th fret, 7th fret. Then I'm going to play the 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4 shape, which is my first finger, my second finger, my pinky, and I'm going to play it across the 4th and the 3rd strings. On the 4th string, we're going to play 4, 5, 7. And on the 3rd string, we're going to play 5, 6, 8. And then on the 1st string, I'm playing the same thing I played on the 6th string, because it's the same notes, and we're playing a box pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th. So you have the whole thing like this. If you put an A minor backing track on, and you just played that scale backwards and forwards, it would sound fine. All those notes fit. Now we can drop a couple of notes and we'll get into the pentatonic. So in this case, we're going to drop the 2nd note and the 6th note. Whenever you play a minor scale, that's pretty much what you're dropping. You're dropping the 2nd note and the 6th note. So I'm going to play the 1st note, which was on the 5th fret of the 6th string, and then I'm skipping the 2nd note, which was on the 7th fret, and I'm playing the 8th note, or the 8th fret, which is the 3rd note. Then I'm going to play on the 5th string, I'm going to play the 5th and the 7th, which would be my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? But I'm going to skip that 6th note, which is on the 8th fret of the 5th string. So I'm not going to play the, I'm just going to play. So we have, for your diatonic and for your pentatonic, you have, so that's your A minor pentatonic. So I'm skipping those 2 notes, and they appear 2 times in this scale. So they appear once there, and now I'm going to keep going. Now we're at the 7th note, which is on the 4th string at the 5th fret. Now we're back to the 1st note, which is on the 7th fret of the 4th string, which means I'm going to skip the 2nd again. So I'm going to skip that note that's on the 4th string at the 4th fret, and I'm going to go ahead and play the 5th fret on the 4th string. And then the 7th fret on the 4th string, which is going to be my 3rd and my 4th notes of the diatonic, right? So I'm going to go ahead and play the 5th note and then skip the 6th note. So the 5th note is going to be on the 2nd string at the 5th fret. And then I'm going to skip that 6th note, which is on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And I'm going to go ahead and play the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the 1st string that I did on the 6th string. I'm going to play the 5th fret and the 8th fret. So you have this. So that very classic solo right there, which if I was walking up the stairs, maybe I was going kind of high, and maybe I was eventually going to get to heaven. That's that solo, right? If you play that solo, you're playing mostly pentatonic. Until you get to this note right here, which is my 6th note of the diatonic, or the 6th note of the Aeolian scale. Now some people might say you're playing a sharp 4th because you're taking the 4th note of the pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're playing a sharp of it instead of playing the 4th note. But really, in my mind, what you're doing is you're taking and you're adding in those 2 notes that you left out. You're adding in one of those notes. You're adding in the 6th note of the diatonic. Everything else you're just leaving out, that 2nd and that 6th. So if you wanted to know how to play that, on the 3rd string, I'm just bending up. Right, I'm on the 7th fret, and then I'm going to go ahead and walk back the scale. I'm going to play on the 1st string at the 5th, the 2nd string on the 8th and the 5th. Then I'm going to go to the 3rd string and play the 7th and the 5th. So it's like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and keep walking back. I'm going to go ahead and go to the 4th string on the 7th fret. Then I'm going to do this little, it's kind of a sweep, it's a little arpeggio, where I'm going from the 4th string to the 3rd string, both on the 7th fret. And then on the 3rd string, I'm going to go back to the 5th fret. Then go back to the 4th string and play 7, 5. And then end on that note, that's your diatonic note, or in your diatonic scale, the 6th note of the diatonic scale, which would be on the 8th fret of the 5th string. Now, of course, there's a whole lot more to that solo, but that just gets you in the ballpark and shows you where it's at. But again, we're using that scale, right? Or the pentatonic. And you're playing that along with it. Now, because you know it that way now, you can start moving things around. I can go ahead and move this up 2 frets and play the same thing. Because now I'm in this scale. Or this one. Which is now your B minor, okay? So we just went from A minor to B minor. I could go back down to G minor. Right? And then I could go ahead and play that scale there. Or the pentatonic. So you got all kinds of really cool stuff that you can do there. The key is to play with it and make sure you understand the scale shapes that you're playing within. That's the really important thing. Now there was the other one I was going to show you, which is this one. What? Mr. Crowley wants me? Okay, so that is a solo that you hear in a certain song, but you also hear that in lots of songs, right? That little lick right there is common in so many songs, especially from the 70s and the 80s. But I could play it all over the place. Right? Really simple lick. I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you in the A minor box that I've already shown you, right here. So we could take the, the other solo. It fits within that same scale, the A Aeolian scale. So we have 2 parts to that I'm going to go ahead and kind of flesh out for you today. And the first one is this one. I'm bending on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, just like I did with the other solo. Then I'm going to go ahead and play across the 2nd string and the 1st string on the 5th fret. And then I'm going to hammer on to the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And I'm doing this basically by holding down the 2nd and the 1st string at the 5th fret with my index finger. I'm bending with my middle finger on the 3rd string at the 7th fret. And I'm doing this little run here, which goes back to kind of some 50s and 60s solos, things like Johnny B. Good and stuff like that. You can either just kind of sweep pick it, just go down, break it down, or you can alternate pick it. But then after I hit that last note, my ring finger is going to hammer on to the 8th fret of the 2nd string and then pull off. And then I'm going to go back through the entire sequence. Then, after that, you have this little backwards pentatonic run, very similar to the one we just did, right? We did this one. Now we're going to do this. Which then I think it goes forward after that, but we're not going to go ahead and play with the whole thing. We're just going to look at that little part right there. So basically, I'm just going to go back to the 1st string, and I'm going to go from the 8th fret to the 5th fret. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this kind of back 1, forward 1, back 1, forward 1 type thing where I'm going to go. So I'm going to hit that 2nd string at the 8th fret, but then go back to the 1st string at the 5th fret. And then I'm going to take that same sequence and do it across the 2nd and 3rd string. So I'm playing on the 2nd string from 8 to 5, 3rd string at 7, and then back to the 2nd string at 5. So there's a little lick in between those two where I go back to the 2nd string and I go from 8 to 5. So the first lick, and then from 8 to 5 on the second string, then the next lick from the second string to the third string. Okay? Then when I get to the third string, I play that in-between lick where I just go from the 7th fret to the 5th fret on the third string. And then I do that same little lick that I've already done twice on the third string and the fourth string, where I go from the 7th to the 5th on the third string, and then I go to the fourth string at the 7th, and then back to the first string at the 5th. So, and then one more time from the 4th to the 5th. So I think about it like two chunks. One is this, and the other one is this. So, right? So that's your whole lick, right? So basically, that is across the same shape, the same scale. In this case, it's all pentatonic. And of course, you can move that around. I can bring that up to the B. I can bring it up to the E, which is where it usually is played. So you have all kinds of ideas in there, ways you can move this thing around. But because you're playing within the scale shape, I can go ahead and move into that scale shape, like for instance here in the E. Notice I threw the diatonic in there at the end. The idea being that I can go ahead and just kind of move this around all over the place, and I know the scale shape I'm in, I know the box that I'm in, so I can go ahead and play with that box. There, of course, are the boxes, right? You got to move the shapes around, and you can use that first box, which is your A minor box, in any of the positions you want to, in any key that you want to. But if you want to move outside that box, you got to learn the other positions. They all have the same notes, but it's because they start on different strings on different frets. They're played a little bit differently, but it's not that hard, okay? It's not that hard to find the rest of them. And also understanding that each note that a shape starts on, or the notes within the shape itself, each note's gonna correlate to a different mode. These are things that you start to learn when you start to learn the circular nature, okay? So I really hope you found that enlightening and inspiring, and I hope that you can go ahead and take this and move forward with it and learn some really cool stuff just on your own. I think learning from a teacher and then taking it and playing with it on your own is going to be one of the best ways to really kind of flesh out some things that make your playing unique to you. But if you want to get a good foundation, I recommend tinyurl.com/nh411. Shameless plug there. But go check out my course, okay? Go get my course, go sign up to my newsletter. I'll send you bonuses. I'll send you whenever I put out new lessons on YouTube. Anytime I put stuff out of my Bottega, and I got that ready to go for you, which is going to continue a lot of the lessons that I do on YouTube. Go check that out, okay? And I've also got other courses coming up and all kinds of cool stuff. So get the free course. It's a 7-day free course. It will help you unlock the fretboard, see the fretboard code, really start to understand how the shapes all kind of fit together like puzzle pieces, and understand how to take pretty much any solo or break it down into that really kind of simple code so that you can understand exactly what guitarists are doing. That doesn't mean you'll be able to play like every single guitarist out there. I know I can't, but at the same time, at least you'll have the foundation and understand what's going on. And that's really going to get you more in the ballpark than you ever would by just learning solos. I think learning solos is cool, but what's going on with those solos, right? That's what this lesson was all about. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If there's a really awesome solo that you've learned or that you want to learn and you've been playing with it, or you have learned it and you fleshed it out and you got it down pat, now that you know this, can you go back to that solo and figure out exactly what key, or not what key, or not what key necessarily, but what scale shape it's using, or scale shapes it's using. Can you figure that out? Tell me in the comments if this has helped you kind of unlock that solo a little bit more. Yeah, I was playing this really awesome solo and I could play it exactly like it's played on the record or on the CD or on the streaming service or whatever, but you can't move it around. You don't know what it is. You don't know what shape it's using, but now you do, right? Because you can go ahead and understand the scale shapes a little bit better. Can you tell me that? And if it's a rock song, if it's a rock lead, it probably is in the Aeolian scale. So you probably already know it now. Okay? So let me know about that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.